He thought he could cheat in peace, sailing with his lover on a luxury cruise. But when the captain walked on stage, his blood froze, because it wasn't a stranger commanding the ship, it was his wife. And from that moment, the ocean itself turned against him. Imagine this, a man who thinks he's escaped his life, only to sail straight into the truth he can't outrun. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, generously hit the like button, 'cause it means the world to us. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy as we dive into the story. Anthony Blake leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window of his Manhattan office. The skyline glittering like shards of ambition beneath a pale afternoon sun. The glass tower he'd built his company in hummed with the pulse of success. Phones ringing, assistants rushing, contracts sliding across polished desks. To anyone else, this was the dream. To him, it had begun to feel like a cage of glass and steel. His reflection stared back at him. Sharp suit, gold watch, hair perfectly combed. He looked like the version of himself he had always wanted to become. Not the boy from Portland Harbor who carried fish crates with his father, but the man who signed deals that shifted shipping lanes across the Atlantic. Yet inside, a strange hollowness gnawed. He ran a hand through his hair and exhaled. Behind him, his office door creaked. His secretary, a young man in suspenders, poked his head in. "Mr. Blake, the Singapore contract is ready for your signature." Anthony waved him off, eyes still fixed on the skyline. "Leave it. I'll get to it later." The boy hesitated. "Sir, they're waiting." "I said later." His voice cut sharp, making the boy retreat. Anthony loosened his tie and sat back in his leather chair. His desk was cluttered with papers, but his phone vibrated insistently. He picked it up, already guessing who it was. Selena. The screen lit up with her photo. Bronzed skin, full lips, eyes that seemed to dance even in pixels. He swiped quickly. "You're late," her sultry voice teased through the line. "I'm working," Anthony replied, though his tone softened. "Not everyone gets to spend afternoons at spas." "You're not working," she said. "Certain. You're staring out that window again, bored out of your mind." Anthony chuckled despite himself. "Maybe. Then let me fix that." She purred. "I found something. A cruise. Caribbean. 10 days of luxury. No business calls. No nagging responsibilities. Just us." Anthony leaned back, closing his eyes as he imagined it. Waves, music, champagne. Selena's laugh drifting under moonlight. "What about?" His words trailed. He didn't finish Diana's name. Selena smirked into the phone, her voice sharp with playful arrogance. "Your wife. She's at home folding laundry, isn't she? She'll never know. Besides, don't you deserve some fun?" All work and no play makes Anthony dull. The silence stretched. Anthony tapped his pen against the desk. He should have said no. He should have reminded her he was married. But instead, he whispered, "Book it." Selena laughed triumphantly, a sound like champagne bubbles rising. Anthony ended the call, palm sweaty. He sat still for a long moment, hearing the tick of the office clock. Finally, he rose, walking back to the window. The city roared beneath him, restless and alive. Somewhere in that sea of noise was Diana, his wife, the woman who had stood by him when this skyline was only a dream. She had been enough once, but now Anthony told himself he needed fire. He needed escape. And in Selena's arms, he thought he had found both. Yet deep inside, something whispered, consequences always sail faster than desire. But here's the twist that will leave you reeling: what if the very escape he craved was captained by the woman he betrayed? The Portland house still smelled of lemon polish and old wood. Diana Blake folded warm laundry with practiced hands, the rhythm soothing. Shirts, trousers, towels. She stacked them neatly into piles. Outside, The gulls cried faintly, a reminder of the harbor where her childhood dreams had once taken root. She moved slowly, humming a tune her father used to sing. Her fingers lingered on one shirt, Anthony's white button-down. She pressed it gently, remembering when she had ironed the same shirt before his first investor meeting. He had been nervous then, clutching numbers and charts, whispering, "What if I fail?" "You won't," she had said, smoothing the collar. And she had been right. But success had come with shadows. His absences grew longer, his laughter shorter, his eyes restless. She never accused. That wasn't her way. She carried his home, his mother, his bills, even his silence. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A message from her old professor. "Congratulations again, Captain Blake. We are proud of you." Diana's lips curved faintly. Few people knew of her hidden life. Between meals and bills, she had studied maritime courses, navigation simulations, safety drills. While Anthony expanded his empire, she had quietly built one of her own, a mastery of the sea. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a small leather folder. Inside lay her maritime license. She traced the embossed letters, remembering the nights she had studied by lamplight while Anthony slept. Her father's voice echoed in memory. "Ships listen to no one but their captain, Diana. If you want respect, command it." A soft knock came at the door. Her mother-in-law, frail but smiling, shuffled in with her cane. "Diana, child, you work too hard. Sit and rest." Diana smiled warmly, guiding her to a chair. "I'm fine, Mama Blake." The older woman's eyes softened. "You remind me of your father. Steady, never rushing. Anthony doesn't know how lucky he is." Diana's throat tightened, but she only nodded. She tucked the license back into the folder and returned to folding. Her sacrifices had been quiet, unseen. But her destiny wasn't gone. It was waiting, as steady as the tide. Selena Lopez flipped her hair, scrolling through cruise packages on her tablet as she sipped iced coffee in her Miami penthouse. Sunlight spilled across glass walls, glinting off designer shoes scattered like trophies. She smirked at the photos. Grand ballrooms, turquoise seas, decks glittering under fairy lights. She wanted it all, and Anthony's wallet made it possible. When Anthony arrived later that evening, suit jacket draped over his arm, Selena greeted him in silk. She draped herself across the sofa, pouting. "You look tired, Tony. You need a break." He sighed, loosening his tie. "Work never ends. That's why I planned something." She showed him the cruise screen. "Look, Caribbean. 10 days, the biggest liner. Private suites, gala nights, spas. Imagine us dancing under stars while waves kiss the hull." Anthony hesitated. "It's risky." Selena laughed, sliding closer. "Diana doesn't even know how to turn on Instagram. You think she'll find out? Come on, live a little." Her perfume wrapped around him, intoxicating. She placed the tablet in his hands, her eyes sparkling. "Say yes." He swallowed. "Yes." Selena squealed, clapping her hands. She kissed him deeply, triumphant. In her mind, this wasn't just a vacation. It was proof she could drag him fully into her world. She imagined selfies on deck, champagne in hand, captions that screamed luxury. Diana was a ghost in the background, irrelevant. What Selena didn't know was that Diana's world was the ocean itself, and Selena was sailing straight into it. The harbor swarmed with life, families hugging, children squealing, luggage rolling across planks. A brass band played upbeat tunes as the cruise ship loomed white and magnificent. Anthony carried Selena's designer bags, his shirt clinging with sweat. Selena posed for selfies, lips pursed, the ship behind her like a crown jewel. "Relax," she teased. "You look guilty already." "I'm just hot," Anthony muttered, scanning nervously. His heart thudded at every passing face as though Diana might appear. But she was nowhere in sight. At least not here. Crew members greeted passengers cheerfully. Selina looped her arm through Anthony's. "This is paradise, Tony. Forget her. Forget everything." Anthony forced a laugh. He told himself this was his reward. Yet inside, guilt scratched like claws. Above, from a hidden vantage point, Diana adjusted her crisp uniform. She had boarded earlier, unseen. Her badge gleamed as she observed from the shadows. Anthony's figure on the dock was unmistakable, and beside him, Selina's bright dress burned her vision. Her heart clenched, but her expression stayed composed. She whispered to herself, "The sea will test him." Diana walked the ship's corridors, shoes echoing softly. Her uniform fit like armor, her presence calm yet commanding. Crew members saluted respectfully, unaware of the storm inside her chest. She paused at the passenger manifest displayed in her quarters. Anthony Blake, Selina Lopez. The names stabbed like knives, but she steadied herself. From her private cabin, she whispered, "Truth doesn't need chasing. It finds its way." Above deck, Anthony and Selina laughed, toasting champagne. Passengers watched with idle curiosity, but unseen eyes followed. Crew reported quietly, noting their movements. Anthony didn't know that every step he took was being watched, not by paparazzi, not by strangers, but by the very woman he had betrayed. Diana leaned against her desk, staring at their wedding photo. Her fingers trembled for a moment, then steadied. She would not crumble. Her ship was under her command, and soon Anthony would realize that secrets never survive at sea. The pool deck shimmered with turquoise water, sunlight splintering into 1,000 bright fragments. Music pulsed from hidden speakers while passengers lounged with cocktails. Selina Lopez strutted across the deck like it was a runway. Her red dress clung in all the right places, catching stares from every direction. She smiled as if the entire ship had been chartered to celebrate her beauty. Anthony followed, sunglasses hiding the unease in his eyes. He carried a glass of champagne, though his grip was tight, knuckles pale. Selina dragged him to the poolside bar, tossing her hair at the bartender, who grinned too eagerly. Anthony noticed, frowning, but Selina only laughed, tapping the rim of her glass for a refill. She leaned close to Anthony, voice low but teasing. "You look like you're waiting for the police to storm the ship." Anthony forced a smirk. "I just don't want anyone from New York recognizing me." "Please," she scoffed, sipping her drink. "No one here cares about your boring logistics company. They're all too busy taking pictures of me." She held her phone high, turning them into a glittering selfie, Selina's red lips, Anthony's awkward smile, the pool sparkling behind them. She captioned it quickly, something about living her best life, and uploaded without hesitation. Anthony's stomach tightened. He imagined Diana stumbling across that post, but he shoved the thought away. Diana didn't care for social media. She wouldn't see it. Still, guilt gnawed at him. Selina slid her hand across his thigh under the table, eyes gleaming. "Relax," she whispered. "Your wife is far away. This is our world now." Anthony tried to laugh, but his eyes flickered across the deck. Too many people, too many glances. Something about the way crew members lingered unsettled him. He brushed it off, telling himself it was paranoia. He didn't know that one of those crewmen had already reported his every move to Diana. When night came, Selina pulled him onto the dance floor. Passengers clapped, forming a circle as she swayed against him, the red dress catching the light. Anthony laughed nervously, keeping pace. But even with music blaring, he felt like someone was watching. Above from a shadowed balcony, Diana stood still, her uniform crisp. Her hands rested on the railing, her face unreadable. She didn't blink as her husband danced, kissed, laughed with another woman under her command. Selina twirled, her hair flying. Anthony smiled, but his chest thudded with dread. He didn't know it yet, but the sea itself had become Diana's witness. Diana Blake sat alone in her private cabin, the hum of the ship steady beneath her. On her desk lay an old photograph, her wedding day. She and Anthony smiling, both too young, too hopeful. She touched the edges of the picture, tracing Anthony's face with her thumb. She remembered the vows he had whispered back then, words trembling but sincere. Forever, Diana. No matter what comes, it's us. Her lips curved faintly, though not in joy. Those promises had turned brittle with time. He had forgotten, but she had not. She rose and crossed to the mirror, adjusting her uniform. Captain, the word still felt surreal. Years of training, of hiding her ambitions, had led to this moment. And yet, the man who once claimed to love her now paraded across her ship with another woman. Her chest ached, but she steadied her breath. She reminded herself of her duty. A captain did not waver, not even in storms. The intercom buzzed. Her first officer's voice came through. All systems checked, Captain. Smooth sailing tonight. Thank you, Diana replied calmly. Maintain course. She ended the call, her hands tightening briefly on the desk. Memories flickered, nights when Anthony had been late, excuses rehearsed. She had suspected but never accused. Instead, she had poured herself into study, into something he could not control or belittle. Now she stood stronger, yet lonelier than ever. She whispered to her reflection, every voyage has a reckoning. His will come. She sat again, writing notes for her gala speech. Her pen moved steadily, though her heart pulsed with grief. She would not confront him. Not yet. The sea had its own timing, and Diana believed in its rhythm. Outside, waves broke softly against the hull. Inside, Diana's silence hardened into resolve. The ballroom glowed with chandeliers, gold spilling across marble floors polished to perfection. A quartet played violins while waiters moved with trays of wine and hors d'oeuvres. Passengers in gowns and tuxedos filled the space, their laughter echoing. Anthony adjusted his bow tie, his stomach knotted. Selina stood beside him, dazzling in diamonds he had bought the day before. She grinned, soaking in every glance cast her way. This, she whispered, is our kingdom. Anthony smiled faintly, but unease gnawed. He sipped champagne, eyes flicking across the room. Crewmen in uniform moved quietly, efficient. Something about the way one steward lingered too long unsettled him. Selina tugged his arm. Dance with me. He obliged, leading her onto the floor. She swayed against him, head thrown back in laughter. Passengers clapped, charmed by her boldness. Anthony forced a smile, though sweat prickled his neck. Nearby, a steward whispered into a radio, discreet but deliberate. Anthony didn't notice. On the upper level, Diana prepared for her own appearance. She adjusted her cap, eyes steady. Crew whispered of the mysterious new captain, unseen but respected. Soon the announcement would be made. She felt the weight of the moment pressing closer. Below, Selina posed dramatically near the orchestra, begging Anthony to film her. He obliged, phone trembling slightly in his hand. She kissed him for the camera, her red lipstick staining his cheek. Passengers applauded playfully. Anthony laughed nervously, though his eyes kept darting upward. He didn't know why, but he felt like the ceiling itself was watching. The gala sparkled, but tension coiled beneath its glitter. Diana stood ready, her name waiting to be revealed. The morning sun stretched over endless blue. Anthony leaned against the rail, inhaling salt air. Selina still slept inside their suite, tangled in silk sheets. He should have felt free, but the ocean's vastness made him uneasy. He thought of Diana, her quiet smile, the way she folded his clothes neatly, her patience that had always steadied him. Guilt pricked sharp. He wondered if she suspected. A steward passed, offering a polite greeting. Anthony nodded faintly, unaware the steward carried instructions directly from Diana. Anthony closed his eyes, trying to shake the unease. He told himself he deserved this escape, but the waves whispered otherwise. Footsteps echoed. Selina emerged, robe loose, hair messy, but eyes sparkling. "There you are," she teased, kissing his neck. "Why do you look like a man waiting for a trial?" Anthony chuckled weakly. "Just thinking." "Stop thinking," she said, tugging him back toward the cabin. "We didn't come here to brood. We came to live." She pulled him inside, slamming the door. But even as he sank into her arms, Anthony felt the sea pressing against him, a reminder that secrets never stay buried. Above in the control room, Diana marked the coordinates. She had seen his name on the manifest days ago. Now, she tracked his steps through reports. She whispered to herself, "The ocean never hides truth." By the third day, Selina grew restless. The novelty of champagne and sunbathing wore thin. She lounged by the pool, tapping her phone impatiently. "I want more," she told Anthony bluntly, slipping on sunglasses. "Jewelry, spa treatments, adventures. Don't make me beg." Anthony sighed, handing over his card. He watched her strut toward the shops, heart heavy. Hours later, she returned with bags, showing off necklaces and dresses. Passengers admired, some envious. Anthony smiled faintly, though his eyes dimmed. That evening, Selina leaned close at dinner, whispering, "Let's explore the captain's deck. Imagine the photos." Anthony choked on his drink. "That's impossible." Selina pouted, swirling her wine. "You're no fun." He promised something later, desperate to calm her. She laughed, already distracted by another passenger's compliment. Anthony stared at her, realizing her charm glittered only under attention. Beneath it, emptiness. Meanwhile, Diana watched from her control room. She noted every demand, every indulgence. Selina's hunger was fuel for the storm Diana knew was coming. The sea rocked gently, but tension tightened with every wave. Anthony didn't know it yet, but his escape was already over. Diana rose before dawn, her body trained to the rhythm of the ship. The corridors were still, the sea whispering against the hull. She pulled on her uniform, the starched white fabric settling over her shoulders like armor. The captain's badge gleamed faintly in the mirror, reminding her that this was no longer a dream. It was command. The bridge smelled faintly of coffee and salt. Her officers greeted her with crisp nods, their respect genuine. She moved among them with quiet authority, checking logs, adjusting routes, reviewing reports. Each word she spoke was measured, deliberate, carrying calm certainty. They admired that about her. No panic, no raised voice, just steady control. But beneath her composure lived something raw. Each time she glanced at the passenger list on her desk, the names leaped at her like thorns, Anthony Blake. And right below it, Selina Lopez. She had seen them on deck the day before. Anthony's arm looped around Selina's waist, his smile forced, Selina laughing too loudly. The sting had pierced Diana's chest, but she had not faltered. Instead, she whispered silently, "Patience." An officer handed her a clipboard. "Captain, morning safety drills are complete. All lifeboats accounted for." "Good," Diana replied, scanning the numbers. "Continue with the regular checks." She walked to the observation window, gazing out at the horizon. The sea stretched endless, blue, and unforgiving. A captain had to be like that, endless, steady, refusing to be bent by storms. Yet her thoughts betrayed her discipline. She remembered Anthony's nervous laugh when they were first married, the way he'd confessed he hated small talk at business dinners. She had carried his burdens then, and now, on this ship, she carried the knowledge of his betrayal. Her first officer stepped closer. "Captain, will you be joining the gala tonight for the announcement ceremony?" "Yes," she said calmly, though her chest tightened. Everything must proceed as planned. She returned to her quarters briefly, rehearsing her speech. Words about safety, trust, and the journey ahead. Her tone remained professional, but in her mind, she could already see Anthony's face when he realized who stood at the helm of his world. She whispered again to herself, "Patience, Diana. The sea does not hurry, yet it delivers." Anthony sat with Selina at the ship's cafe, a plate of pancakes and tropical fruit untouched before him. Selina scrolled through her phone, showing him videos she had just uploaded. Strangers online flooded her comments with compliments, and she beamed with satisfaction. Anthony nodded half-heartedly, stirring his coffee. His eyes drifted to other couples at nearby tables. Older pairs laughing quietly, hands intertwined. A pang of memory struck. Diana, her gentle laugh when he used to bring her flowers home after long days, the way she'd scold him softly for forgetting to eat dinner. Selina leaned back, sunglasses perched on her nose. "You're brooding again. Honestly, Tony, you make vacation look like a funeral." He tried to smile. "I'm just tired." She rolled her eyes. "Tired? You've done nothing but lounge and eat. Maybe you're just not used to being with someone who actually lives life." Her words bit sharper than intended, but she didn't notice. She was already distracted by a waiter who complimented her dress. She leaned toward him, laughing too loudly, soaking in the attention. Anthony's jaw tightened. He wanted to scold her, but the hypocrisy stopped him cold. What right did he have? He was the one betraying vows. That evening, music filled the open deck. Selina danced with strangers while Anthony leaned against the railing, staring at the moonlit sea. The waves shimmered silver, endless, silent. He thought of Diana again, how she used to sit with him during storms, reminding him that seas always calmed. He realized with a jolt that her presence had been his anchor all along. Without her, he felt adrift. He whispered into the wind, "What have I done?" Unbeknownst to him, Diana watched from the shadows above, her face unreadable. She had seen enough. Below deck, crew members whispered as they worked. The new captain was unlike any they'd served before. Precise, calm, but mysterious. Few had seen her outside official duties. Rumors spread quickly in the confined corridors. She was younger than expected, sharper than anyone anticipated. Anthony overheard two stewards chatting near the bar as he passed. "She's brilliant," one said. "Caught an error in navigation before anyone else noticed. Saved us hours. And she's dignified, too," the other replied. "Not like some captains who shout. She just gives you this look and you listen." Anthony smirked faintly, uninterested. Or at least that's what he told himself. But curiosity pricked at him. Who was this captain they admired so much? Selina noticed his distraction. She waved her hand in front of his face. "Earth to Anthony. Who cares about some captain? You're here with me." He nodded quickly, brushing the thought aside, but the whispers lingered like distant thunder before a storm. Later that evening, Selina demanded photos by the grand staircase. Anthony obliged, though his smile looked hollow. Behind the camera flashes, crew exchanged glances. Some recognized him from the reports they'd already given to Diana. The whispers about the captain weren't just idle gossip anymore. They were threads weaving closer to his fate. Night blanketed the ship, stars scattered like jewels across a velvet sky. Diana stood alone on the bridge, the hum of machinery steady beneath her feet. The wheel gleamed under her hands as she gazed at the dark horizon. Her chest ached with every memory of Anthony. His touch, his laugh, his vows. She had watched him kiss another woman on her ship. Their intimacy flaunted openly. The betrayal was sharp, but she did not crumble. Her whisper carried softly into the night air. "Let him believe he is free. Truth will anchor him soon enough." She remembered their early years, the diner where they'd shared cheap meals, the way he used to squeeze her hand during storms. He had forgotten those days, but she had not. Her second officer entered quietly. "Captain, all systems steady. Would you like me to take over?" "No," Diana replied, her voice calm. "I'll stay." She remained at the helm, eyes fixed on the stars. She was not waiting for confrontation. She was waiting for revelation. And she knew it was close. The ocean whispered against the hull, its rhythm steady. It was as if the sea itself conspired with her, preparing to expose everything. Morning brought sharp sunlight and sharper words. Selina sat at breakfast with Anthony, her voice playful but edged. "When are you leaving, Diana?" she asked, twirling her necklace. "I'm not going to stay your secret forever." Anthony nearly choked on his coffee. He stammered. "Excuse, business complications, timing, paperwork." Selina's eyes narrowed. "You're lying," she said flatly. "You think you can keep me as your little holiday fling? Decide soon, Anthony. I won't wait forever." He nodded nervously, his palms sweating. Around them, passengers laughed over fruit and pastries, oblivious to the storm brewing at their table. Selina leaned closer, her perfume overwhelming. "I want to be Mrs. Blake someday. Don't make me regret choosing you." Anthony's stomach twisted. He had always avoided hard decisions, but Selina's demands were cornering him. He prayed for silence to buy him more time, but silence was running out. Across the room, a steward noted every word, reporting later to Diana. The clock was ticking faster than Anthony realized. In her quarters, Diana unfolded a letter she had kept for years. Anthony's handwriting sprawled across the page, filled with promises of forever. She traced the lines, remembering nights when he had meant them. But forever had ended quietly without his notice. She folded the letter carefully, slipping it back into her journal. Duty pressed heavy on her shoulders. The gala's closing ceremony approached, and she would be required to speak. She rehearsed in front of the mirror, her voice steady. Words about dignity, safety, trust. Not one syllable about betrayal. She didn't need to expose Anthony herself. Truth had a way of rising, just as the tide did. She straightened her cap, whispering to her reflection, "You are captain now, not just a wife left behind. Command your destiny." The mirror showed strength, but behind it lived sadness. Still, Diana chose dignity over revenge. Her heart no longer beat to Anthony's rhythm. It beat to the seas. The ship glided across turquoise waters, sunlight sparkling against gentle waves. Passengers lounged with cocktails, laughter rising like gulls. To them, it was paradise. Anthony sat stiffly beside Selina at the pool. She hummed, stretching lazily, sunglasses hiding her eyes. She looked perfectly content, but Anthony's restlessness betrayed him. He scanned faces, every uniform unsettling him. His chest tightened when an officer passed, nodding politely. Something about the crisp salute made his throat dry. Selina noticed. "Relax," she teased, sipping her drink. "No one here cares about your boring little life back home." He forced a laugh, but dread gnawed deeper. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Above, in her quarters, Diana finalized her announcement speech. The words flowed evenly, but her hands trembled briefly before steadying. Tonight, the ship would gather in the ballroom. Tonight, the truth would stand unveiled. The sea looked calm, but beneath its glass surface, storms churned unseen. Anthony leaned back, closing his eyes against the sun. He told himself it was just nerves. But every wave that lapped against the hull whispered the same message. The calm was over. The sun burned golden across the horizon as the dining hall filled with chatter. Selina sat close to Anthony, champagne glass in hand, eyes glittering like she already owned the ship. She leaned across the table, voice dripping with ambition as she painted pictures of the life she craved. "This is just the beginning," she murmured, tapping her glass against his. "Imagine us on a private island, servants running everywhere, diamonds that shine so bright they blind people." Anthony forced a smile, though his stomach knotted. He watched her lips move, heard her laughter rise, but the only image haunting him was Diana, her quiet eyes, her steady hands, her patience that had always carried him when his world shook. Selina's hand trailed across his arm. "I want to be Mrs. Blake someday. Doesn't that sound perfect?" The word struck like ice. Anthony's throat tightened, his chest heavy. He tried to respond, but only silence left his lips. Selina laughed, mistaking his pause for agreement. She leaned closer, whispering about yachts and power. Around them, passengers clapped for the musicians, oblivious to the storm brewing at their table. Anthony swallowed hard, unable to escape the weight of his guilt. He didn't know that above them, in her quarters, Diana rehearsed her speech with calm precision. Soon the ballroom would gather, and Selina's dream would shatter under the truth waiting at the stage. The ballroom glowed under chandeliers, walls draped in silk banners. Passengers arrived in glittering gowns and tailored suits, their laughter rising with the music. The air hummed with excitement. Tonight, the ship's mysterious captain would finally be introduced. Anthony adjusted his tie, sweat prickling beneath his collar. Selina twirled beside him, her new diamond necklace catching the light. She posed for more photos, phone raised high. "I want the captain in my story tonight," she giggled. "Imagine the prestige." Anthony managed a weak laugh, unaware of how literal her wish would soon become. Crew members guided passengers to their seats. Waiters moved with trays of wine. An officer's voice rose over the crowd, announcing that the captain would be formally presented. Applause thundered. Anthony's pulse raced. He shifted uncomfortably, hands trembling around his glass. Selina squeezed his arm, whispering about special treatment they might get once the captain knew who he was. He laughed hollowly, the sound swallowed by the rising anticipation. He felt heat in the crowded hall, as if the very walls pressed in on him. Something inside screamed that this moment wasn't just ceremonial. It was judgment. The stage lights brightened, curtains shifting. Footsteps echoed softly against polished marble. A figure waited just behind the veil, calm and unshaken. Anthony didn't know it yet, but his world stood one breath away from collapse. The announcer smiled at the audience, microphone steady in his hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present your captain." Applause roared. Anthony clapped slowly, distracted, his palms slick with sweat. Selina straightened, phone lifted high, recording every second. The curtains drew back. A tall figure in crisp white uniform stepped forward, polished shoes echoing across the stage. At first, Anthony only saw the silhouette. He blinked, adjusting. Then the spotlight revealed the face. Diana. His jaw dropped, his hand frozen mid-clap. Selina gasped, lowering her phone as her eyes darted between them. Diana stood tall, her badge gleaming, her presence commanding. She smiled politely at the crowd, thanking them with calm grace. Not once did her eyes flicker toward Anthony. Applause roared again, but Anthony heard only the rush of blood in his ears. Time slowed, stretching painfully. His throat tightened, his legs numb. Selina's whisper sliced the silence beside him. "That's your wife." Anthony couldn't answer. The hall erupted in cheer, but for him, the world had fallen silent. Anthony sat rigid, unable to breathe. The woman he had betrayed, quiet, patient Diana, stood at the center of the stage, commanding applause. She looked every inch the leader, untouchable in her uniform. Selina's grip on his arm tightened, nails digging into his skin. "You lied to me," she hissed. Her voice shook with fury, but Anthony didn't respond. His eyes were locked on Diana, his mind spinning. How had she hidden this? How long had she known? His chest heaved, but no sound escaped. Diana spoke calmly, her voice steady as she greeted the passengers. Her words carried authority, yet no hint of personal betrayal. She addressed the crowd, not him. That dismissal stung worse than anger. Selina pulled at his sleeve. Say something. Do something. He remained frozen. The man who once commanded boardrooms now sat hollow, powerless, watching the life he thought he controlled crumble silently. Diana's voice filled the ballroom with calm strength. It is my honor to serve as captain on this voyage. Safety, dignity, and trust guide every decision aboard this vessel. Passengers applauded warmly. Anthony sank lower in his seat, sweat trickling down his back. Selina folded her arms, her glare sharp enough to cut glass. Diana continued, outlining safety measures, schedules, and thanking her crew for their loyalty. Every word was professional, precise. Not once did her tone falter. Yet beneath that calm, Anthony felt the weight of her power pressing on him. Every sentence felt like a judgment, though she never looked his way. Her refusal to acknowledge him burned more deeply than rage. When she ended with a dignified bow, applause thundered once more. The hall shimmered with admiration. Anthony sat hollow, realizing the truth. Diana didn't need to expose him. She had already won. Back in their cabin, Selina erupted. She threw her shoes across the room, her voice sharp enough to rattle walls. You tricked me. You let me parade around like a fool while your wife ran the whole damn ship. Anthony tried to explain, words stumbling. I didn't know, liar, Selina spat, pacing like a storm. Her diamond necklace glittered under the lamp, mockery in its shine. You're pathetic. You can't even stand up to your wife, and you thought you could handle me. Anthony pressed his hands against his face, the weight of shame crushing him. He wanted to speak, but nothing came. Selina's fury only grew. She slammed her bag shut, her voice trembling with rage. You're weak, Anthony, and I don't waste my time on weak men. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Anthony sat in the silence, the sea rocking gently outside. For the first time, he realized how powerless he truly was. The deck was quiet under the night sky, the sea whispering dark truths. Anthony wandered alone, his hands buried in his pockets, his tie loosened. The stars glittered, indifferent to his turmoil. He leaned against the railing, staring at the waves below. Memories of Diana flooded him, her patience, her sacrifices, her strength. He thought of every time she had carried him, only for him to abandon her for shallow thrills. Regret suffocated him. He whispered her name into the wind, but the sea swallowed it whole. He imagined what she must think of him now, if she thought of him at all. Her calm dismissal at the gala had cut deeper than any confrontation. She hadn't exposed him. She hadn't screamed. She had simply erased him with silence. Anthony gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. He realized he had traded gold for glitter, loyalty for illusion. And now he had nothing. Dawn broke across the water, painting the horizon in gold. Diana stood at the bridge, hands steady on the wheel. The ship hummed with life around her, crew moving with respect in their eyes. She watched the sun climb higher, the sea stretching endless and free. For the first time in years, she felt peace. Anthony crossed her mind briefly, but only as a shadow. His betrayal no longer defined her. She had chosen strength over bitterness, dignity over revenge. She whispered softly to herself, the sea doesn't lie. Behind her, officers worked quietly, trusting her command. Ahead, light shimmered across the waves, promising new journeys. Diana smiled, guiding the ship forward. She was no longer Anthony's forgotten wife. She was Captain Diana Blake, master of her destiny, unstoppable. I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please go ahead and generously hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating tales like this. We'd love to hear from you. What lessons have you learned from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next story.